As we sit here today looking to what the future ought to be and what the promise of Texas really includes, we don't have to go very far to look back at the Democrats that were here before us that said, no one is going to be excluded.
We have historically been the party that created the infrastructure in Texas government that created opportunity for all Texans. Everything from the best highways in the world to good schools to great universities.
Democrats that came before us established a pathway. They recognized the promise of this wonderful place, and they built the things that allow us to enjoy it.
My mother took me out of school to go down and hear John Kennedy speak to the students at Rice University, and that was the speech about landing a man on the moon. And I was there and I heard that, and it changed who I am today.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
I wish that I could tell every young person that those were the days when public service meant something, when being the best and the brightest wasn't a bad thing, it was a good thing. And when there was some honesty and wanting to serve other people. And I think that is the legacy that Kennedy gave to the boomer generation.
One of the legacies that we as Democrats ought to hold dear is that although President Johnson came to office under grossly tragic circumstances, he took that moment in history to achieve so much.
LBJ became a great people's president by an honest route, which is he grew up in the hill country out here. Got out there and was teaching in Mexican-American communities and saw a lot of what ordinary people, working class people were faced with. And that's why he was able to be the Great Society president. It's that common man experience that he had that led him become actually a truly great president in our country. Johnson literally went to the people in his campaigns and was very innovative, the first to use a helicopter. And he didn't use a helicopter to hop from one fundraiser to another, but rather to literally go out and talk to people.
So part of the legacy of LBJ is the excitement that he brought to the political process. The ability to get people energized and become involved in that political process.
Johnson began to sense a bigger responsibility, not just to vote for something, but to actually provide leadership.
Using that Johnson treatment that is now legendary, he was able to put together the votes necessary to pass the landmark legislation that we now know as the Civil Rights Act. He knew when he did that the political ramifications would be severe. He was going to stand for what he truly believed needed to be done, regardless of what those political ramifications might be. It is a lesson for all of us, whether we've been elected or we just believe deeply in our hearts about what is right.
And I think that the Civil Rights Act, even though we lost the South as a result of it, but the Civil Rights Act helped to nurture, I think, the Democratic Party to some extent, because more and more minorities saw the opportunity and the importance of voting, and they began to embrace the party.
Barbara Jordan was for everybody an example of the success of LBJ's civil rights battles. And she was a success story and an inspiration to no telling how many young girls.
She was a great Texas senator. Subsequent to that, she became a member of Congress and did such a tremendous job of articulating the principles of the Democratic Party.
We believe in equality for all and privileges for none. This is a belief that each American, regardless of background, has equal standing in the public forum, all of us.
After her retirement, she moved back down to Austin and served as an ethical advisor to Governor Ann Richards.
There wasn't a woman, wasn't a little girl in Texas that didn't think everything was available to her after she saw Barbara Jordan in the Texas Senate and Ann Richards in the governor's chair.
In 1988, she gave her famous speech to the Democratic National Convention. You felt a closeness to her, even on TV. And as a college student, when I saw her give that speech, I was hooked.
In many ways, when Ann talked of the new Texas, she talked of the promise of Texas. And when she talked about the new Texas, she talked very specifically about opening the doors of state government so that everyone could participate. And man, open the doors she did.
The Democratic Party has nurtured and produced some great leaders over the decades. And it's been a while since these big figures with deep democratic values have stepped forward. But now it's beginning to happen again, in large part, I think, because the party itself has gone back to the grassroots.
I look at this list of people that have put themselves out there and are willing to step up and say, put me in. From Wendy Davis and Letitia Van de Putte, through all of those great Democratic candidates, this group of Texas Democrats is going to lead us into the future.